Welcome to the new sound of online radio. Welcome to the sound of Universal Broadcasting Network. 'Cause you make me feel like I've been locked out of heaven. A mix of today's hits and hard-to-find favorites, combined with the most entertaining and intriguing talk anywhere. This is your sound. This is the sound of Universal Broadcasting Network at UBNradio.com.
I torture you. Take my hand.
What is this? What is this?
I torture you.
From Suicide Squad, actually.
Oh, I love it. Thank you. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in today. Another fun edition of Kobylt and Friends. Where's my applause?
Oh, it's here.
Come on.
Yeah.
We have an enormous studio audience today for you, Mr. Ken Levine. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much for having me. This is fun.
This is
I
a
love
lot of
all
fun.
you people.
I know there's so many. I tell you, every week we just get more and more people in this studio. It's tremendous.
I know. There's a couple of people sitting on my lap. It's very difficult to talk.
I know.
Yeah.
We'll go with that one later. But
Okay.
okay, so we have you on today. You have done so many things. It's such a mouthful. But you're on today because John and I went to see your incredible play, Going, Going, Gone. I've been telling everyone about it. So I'm trying to get people in there. I hope that it's even on. I know that it's running in Hollywood at the Hudson Theater until November
20th.
6th.
No,
November 20th.
no, we've
You
been extended 2 weeks.
Yay.
Yeah.
See, because I've been telling everybody about it.
There you go. Thank you.
You're welcome. It was wonderful. So thanks for being here. We're going to talk about that and your incredible career. But first, I love to start off the show with what's going on in politics. We've got Dan Schnur with the U.S. School, oh my gosh, hang on a minute. USC School of Unruh of Politics. I said that wrong, so why don't you say it for me?
Jess Unruh.
Thank you. Oh my God, I was like tongue-tied today. I can't go there. Why don't you just say it for me real quickly? Jess Unruh.
Institute of Politics. Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you so much. And John Kobylt. John Kobylt, host of the John and Ken Show, the very, very popular #1 rated John and Ken Show on KFI Radio, on his way down to Anaheim to host the show live there from a theater somewhere there. I don't remember the name of it. And then you're going to be having a studio audience watch the debates with you again. Last time we went, that was a circus show. That was crazy.
Yeah, well, in Anaheim, in Orange County, it's almost entirely a Trump crowd. So there's about 1,000 people, and they treated it like a wrestling match.
And let me tell you, the people look like they were at a wrestling match or in a wrestling match, I'll tell you. So speaking of wrestling matches, the wrestling match we've got going on with Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, Donald has really sunk himself, I have to tell you, a new low. Dan, we're going to start with you. What can we expect tonight in the debates?
You know, I have begun to identify myself as a failed Trumpologist. I have been predicting what Donald Trump will say and do for the last 16 months, and I've been wrong every single time. So I'll give it a shot with that massive grain of salt. Look, if you're Donald Trump, you know what's coming. You know there's questions coming about the allegations that these women have made against him. You know there's questions coming about the election being rigged. And what Donald Trump decided a long time ago in business and in media is that the best defense is a good offense. So expect him to come out pushing as hard as he can at Clinton, to spend as little time as possible defending himself, and to make the first couple of debates look like very polite affairs by comparison.
You know, it's gotten so ugly, I have to tell you. I don't care about anyone's sexual escapades anymore. Bill did it. He's doing it. They're both disgusting. And it's really a shame because you have so many people who have so many real issues that need to be addressed. And now we're sitting here dealing with stuff that went on 11 years ago. It was disgusting, but still. 11 years ago on a bus when they thought that they were not even being recorded on a microphone. But I have to tell you, Trump has sunk himself. This was an election he could have had if he wanted to. But every word out of his mouth is, whether it's disgusting or disgraceful or crooked.
But that's who he is.
I know.
He's
but
a disgusting sociopath, maniac who has no business being president of the United States.
But if he wanted to be smart and win the election, he's not that stupid. He could have kept his mouth shut.
No, he is that stupid.
Well,
clearly he is that stupid. Yeah.
Clearly he is. Well, I think you and I probably are not voting for Trump. Is that fair to say?
No, I am not voting for Trump.
I think
for anything. I'm not going to his hotels. I'm not eating his meat. My kids are not going to his university.
Wait a minute.
You're
not buying his hang on. You're not buying those ties from Macy's that are now defunct?
I'm not buying the ties made in China. I'm not even watching Access Hollywood anymore.
Well, good for you. But what about you two? Are you two, is it fair to say you're voting the other way?
Look, I tell my students at the beginning of every semester
John's
that my
quiet.
single biggest pet peeve in higher education are college professors who use their classroom as a bully pulpit to impose their opinions on their
That's a
students.
good way out of it.
So because I know all my students listen to you guys regularly, I'll take a pass on this one.
You're taking
But
the fifth. I got it. How about you, John?
That means Hillary.
Huh?
Yeah,
No,
that
I don't
means-
think.
that
No,
means
I don't think that
Hillary.
means. I don't think that means Hillary at all. I think
It means
that means.
Mondale.
Let's keep going back. John.
I'm basing my vote on whatever's going to bring the highest entertainment value for our show. I'm just going to be mercenary.
I want you to know, I'm going to write a blog after this. Donald Trump ruined my marriage. We have arguments at home over this because I don't know how.
No. You have arguments with yourself over this.
I do not argue with myself.
I have no interest in debating Donald Trump outside of the radio show.
Deborah's upset because he never hit on her.
Donald Trump?
Yeah.
John, would you like to say otherwise? That's actually not true. When I was
He
working,
did hit on you?
When I worked in Atlantic City, I actually knew him. He was very kind. He was actually pretty decent. I was really, really young, kind of out of school, and he used to give me some advice. This is when he was
Take you to IKEA for furniture?
Not IKEA, no.
Okay.
There was no IKEA then. I have to tell you, when I was pretty young out of school, I worked at a dinky little station, and in fact, that's where I met John, because he was working at an even dinkier radio station. And this is when Trump was going through all of his bankruptcies. And I got to cover him every single day, every single week. And I actually got to know him a little bit. And he came up to me and he said, "What are you doing down here?" I said, "Well, because this is my first job out of school. That's what I'm doing down here." And he passed me a few names to go call in New York, actually. He
So
did.
you could be woman number 10?
I could have been, but he just wasn't my type. And that's true.
This show would go
you did
viral
not
if
get
you were
there
woman
between-
number 10.
I could have gone viral. But look what I ended up with. I ended up with John. So there you go.
Yeah.
No, he was dating
And I'm a
Marla.
total gentleman.
He was you are actually. He was dating Marla at the time. So,
Yeah, on Tuesday nights. But
on Tuesday nights,
yeah.
he was with Marla. The rest of the time, maybe Wednesday and Thursday with Ivana. I don't even remember. Ivanka.
Marla was stashed away in Trump Castle.
I know, but I used to.
And I think Ivana was working at the Plaza, and he had them separate, one in one hotel, one in the other hotel.
It was a very exciting time to be working.
This
in
was Atlantic City?
This is in
Uh-huh.
Atlantic City. It was dumpy then, worse now, but this is when they
Right.
were trying to build it up.
Right.
But this is at a time when Donald Trump was filing for bankruptcy.
Don't you
So-
love the fact that a guy who is saying that the system is rigged owned casinos?
Own
Doesn't
casinos?
that bother anybody?
And
Own
he lost
casinos-
money running
own-
casinos, by the way.
own
Yeah.
casinos.
How do you lose money at a casino?
I believe he filed for bankruptcy 3 times on those casinos, perhaps 4, I don't remember, and never paid a stitch of taxes on them. So there you go.
This is
Anyway.
like living through the missiles of October for a second time. I got to tell you.
So Dan, sorry, because we've been talking over you. He's a very patient man. Tell me what you think we can expect tonight from Donald.
Like I said, I think he goes on the offense because he knows answering questions about all these allegations from all these women is not going to do him any good at all.
Okay, wouldn't he? So, go ahead.
That said, if he's got to play defense, it seems pretty clear that he's decided that all these allegations about a rigged election is where he'd rather be. In other words, this is just a distraction for him. Does he really think the election is rigged? Maybe, maybe not. But he knows he'd much rather have that conversation than have a conversation about why these 9 women have made all these charges against him.
Oh, my
This
gosh.
is a classic misdirection, and it's working well for him.
And you know who he's got
Hey,
in the
Dan.
wait a minute. Wait, John. You know who he's got in the audience today, right? Tonight he's going to be having Obama's brother, Malik. I tell you, I'm not so good with names. Malik Obama. That's pretty interesting. I mean, he will always find a cast of characters to bring in there to try and piss off the Clintons. But I have to say, she's been fairly refined, and she doesn't let it get to her. Don't you think?
Yeah, no, I think she's done very well in taking the high road and just letting him hang himself, which he does time and time again. I see this debate tonight as just a rehearsal for the opening of Saturday Night Live this week. That's all this is.
That is probably the safest prediction anyone could possibly make. Whatever happens tonight will be done on Saturday Night Live better 4 days from now.
And I love how when now Donald is saying, "Oh, it's an old, tired show. It needs to be retired." Whenever someone goes against him, it's bad. It's old. They're fat. They're piglets. Whatever it is. At the end of it all, he's going to be standing on stage alone because at this point he's made so many enemies. Don't you think he needs to stay on point with issues, though? So if he's attacked, Dan or John, whoever wants to chime in, doesn't he need to flip this around and say, "Look, Why don't we stick to some issues? I mean, that at least would show him in a better light. Can he do that?
Well, if he was rational, but he's not. You'd have to have a person. He had some issues that obviously hit major chords with a lot of people. And if he spent every day talking about those issues, then he'd be much farther along. But he takes 2 weeks off to get into a fight with a Mexican judge. He takes 2 weeks off to fight with Miss Universe. He takes 2 weeks
How
off
ridiculous.
to fight the parents of a Muslim soldier.
That was disgusting.
I mean, who would do that for even 5 minutes?
Could
for
you
even 5 seconds?
could you
Nobody would do any of that, and he turned entire months into a fist fight.
This is like the
that made him
political
look
version.
horrible.
This is like the political version of the producers. I mean, this
It
is springtime for Hitler.
Absolutely. It absolutely is. I'm sure you're working on your next play about this, too. So I'm certain of it. And we'll get to your work shortly because these guys are going to have to get off soon. But Dan, what can Donald do if he wants to turn this around? Because now in the LA Times poll, and he has been up in the LA Times poll, I think, consistently, except now I believe he's down 2 points in the LA Times poll as of today. Isn't that true?
He's actually up, but just barely. He's up 0.2%, which means, if nothing else, that over the last couple of weeks he really has been losing ground. John made the right point, not surprisingly, a minute or two ago. He said, look, if Donald Trump was a normal candidate, he would have been doing this for weeks and weeks and weeks. But he's not a normal candidate. He can't stay on message. He can't emphasize issues. And so there's no reason to think he'll be any better at it tonight than he has been in the past. If you look, earlier this week, over the last several days, he's given speeches on lobbying reform, on instituting term limits. It's a whole anti-establishment policy package. It's really smart stuff for voters who hate politics and politicians. But at least so far in this campaign, he hasn't shown an ability to stay on that kind of message for very long at all, because ultimately he would rather be talking about himself.
So Donald Trump is sitting in the room with you, Dan, and he wants some advice on how to come across, first of all, more likable, because at this point nobody likes him, and more believable. An actual candidate somebody would vote for. What would you tell him to do?
I'd say I'm a strategist, not a magician. What I'd tell him is, all kidding aside, he has had advisors around him for the last several months who he hasn't been listening to.
No.
If he had, John made the right point, he'd probably be, if not ahead, at least even in most polls right now, because Hillary Clinton is so incredibly unpopular, and voters are so unhappy with the way politics is practiced. Here's what I think it is, and I'd love to hear your guys' opinion on this. Most politicians seek out public attention in order to achieve policy goals, right?
Right.
I think Donald Trump has reversed the field on that. He lays out policy goals in order to get attention. Ultimately, the end goal for him is not making change, is not making things happen. It's just getting people to pay attention to him.
Yeah, but
so ultimately,
it's clearly the wrong kind of attention, though. He can't be. I mean, his kids must be jumping up and down, particularly Ivanka, saying, "Dad, you can't do this." I mean,
there's a great old quote from Dennis Rodman. Dennis Rodman once said, "The only bad press is an obituary." And I think that Donald Trump has come to that same conclusion, which is better to be in the press in a very controversial way than not to be noticed at all.
In his case, that wouldn't be bad press, at least for me.
I have to tell you, I disagree with you on this, because he really had an opportunity to really. He could have taken this all the way, but his personality, I don't think anybody.
Well, he may really be insane. I mean, he really may have a mental disorder that's not curable.
Clearly a smoke and mirrors kind of guy.
That's problematic for a presidential candidate,
right,
wouldn't you say?
Yeah, what's he going to be doing?
That is an issue, yeah.
What would he be doing? Tweeting late at night about Putin and all the others?
Well,
because he's pissed off about something?
There's a compulsiveness that he has, which really, you have to look at it as a pathological, psychological issue. Because, when you're up at 3 a.m. sending out tweets about Miss Universe from 20 years ago, I mean, that really is deranged behavior. That's what people do when they're locked up.
And lying about sex tapes.
Which ones are you talking about now?
He was claiming that Miss Universe had sex tapes.
Oh, right.
And that she was disgusting.
Do we care? I don't care about any of this. I can't believe how all of this is deflecting from what's really important to people. All
Can
people.
I ask Dan a question?
What?
Yeah.
What?
Have you seen the National Enquirer dump this week?
I have not. What did I listen to
Hang
the
on,
National
I have
Enquirer
it in
this
my
week?
bag.
Well, they got 9 pages about a Mr. Fixer for the Clintons. Everything about Hillary,
Good reading.
lesbian lovers, and Bill's hookers, and just on and on and on. And you know, these stories are backed by Trump's sidekick, Roger Stone. He feeds this stuff to the National Enquirer. And I just wonder if Trump's going to dump this tonight during the debate, if he's provoked. Because this stuff was really, really crazy.
It's
know
going to
what? I don't
sound
think
like
he has-
Captain
But
Queeg,
who
though.
cares? Do you care if
No.
he dumps this?
No.
I'll
I'm not
find-
saying whether anybody cares or not. It's whether he'll do it or not.
I think he'll.
I'm
Go ahead.
curious
I
if he's
care
just
what
gonna
he thinks
completely
about
set
Alec
fire to the
Baldwin.
place.
I think that's what America cares about, too.
This is true. What he thinks about Alec Baldwin, this is what matters, everybody. You know?
But again, this is whether you like him or not, whether you agree with what he's saying or not. Give Trump some grudging credit now, because he has found a way to dominate the conversation on his terms. It doesn't mean he's going to get elected president, but think about what he has us talking about in this conversation. Think about what the conversation is like on talk radio, on cable TV. He said in the terms of the debate because he understands how to do it.
Frankly, I
and
think
it might be silly and it might be distracting, but he's got us talking about it.
I think he lowered the bar. That's what he's got us talking about. You know, that's the problem.
On page 28, they have Hillary Clinton here in the National Enquirer having an affair with an alien from outer space.
Oh, is that what they're going to be talking about?
Yeah.
By the way, the
Okay,
National,
so I believe it. I believe it.
National
Yeah.
Enquirer. Thank you, John. John brought it in this morning, and he's like, "Here, take a look at this." I'm like, "Are you kidding me? Is this what you base your show on?" The National Enquirer, whatever. All right, guys. Any quick predictions before I let you both go? John, I know you've got a show to do in 40 minutes.
Yeah, I got to run. Oh, I you know what? I think he goes completely berserk tonight.
This will be fun. We're having a
This'll
big
be one
party.
for-
We're having a big party.
Yeah,
I'm
this-
not going down to Anaheim, but we're going to have one at the house, so that should be lots of fun. You both should come over and bring your families and friends.
Yeah, I'm watching the Dodger game.
You're watching the Dodger game.
You and me both. I think in Rocky 3, the announcer asked Mr. T what his prediction was going to be for his match with Rocky.
Yep.
And he said, "Pain, lots of pain." That's my prediction for tonight.
And a lot of screaming like, "Oh, no." All right, Dan, thank you so much for joining us. Dan Schnur and John Kobylt, KFI Radio, 640 a.m. from 2 to 6. We'll have you both on again soon, maybe next week.
Thanks, guys.
See you later.
Bye. Oh, there's that big audience. You know,
They got a standing ovation.
no,
Unbelievable.
And you know what? We have so many seats in the back. They just keep filling them in.
It's amazing.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Okay, so we ready to talk about? I've got my friend here, Adela. She's cracking up. I don't think she gets to see this side of me at home. She usually sees me kind of like barking out orders, like we got to do this and this and this, and she's like, "Oh, it's a whole new side to Deborah." So anyway, no break. Let's just go right into you. What do you think about that?
Okay, great.
Can you handle it?
I think so.
All right, and
Yeah.
you can keep the National Enquirer if you just need to, take a look at what's going on.
Yeah, no, it's I'm learning all kinds of great stuff. Yeah.
Let's talk about your play.
Hey, there's a Kardashian article here.
No.
Wow, what are the odds?
I know. If I have never. My kids went to preschool with the two little ones. They're not little anymore, Kendall and Kylie, and they would always come sauntering in. Bruce, who's now Caitlin, and the mom. Oh my gosh, what's her name? The momager. What's her name?
I've kind of blotted
So I've been
all of that
following these people all along, and the fact that they've made themselves into this. Anyway, let's talk about something more substantial, which is your career.
out. Let's talk about me.
Let's talk about you.
Donald
That's
Trump
what you're
says,
here
"Hey,
for."
let's talk about me." Yeah.
Now, I said to you last night, so how do I introduce you? How do I introduce a man like you who's done so much? So I'm going to take a stab at it, right?
Okay.
First of all, you've been a sportscaster.
Right.
Yeah, call you that?
I did play-by-play.
Did play-by-play for Dodger Radio. Was it KBC?
For KBC, yes, and for the Baltimore Orioles, Seattle Mariners, and San Diego Padres.
And you've contributed to ESPN and Fox Sports. This is just a teeny-weeny bit of his illustrious career. It's pretty incredible. You were a producer at Cheers. You were a head writer at MASH. I had to write all this down because I wouldn't remember it. Creative consultant at Frasier and Wings.
Right.
That's it? That's all you've done? We're done.
No, I did The Simpsons too.
I'm joking.
The neat thing about The Simpsons is it was a baseball-related episode,
Yeah, no, I read about that. Hang
and
on.
I got to do a voice.
I know you did, but wait, where do I have your whole thing about The Simpsons? Hang on a minute. You named a local team the Isotopes, right?
Right.
Okay, and that is still used by a minor league team in Albuquerque, New
Yeah,
Mexico.
my partner David Isaacs and I wrote the episode called Dancin' Homer, which is about the minor league team. And usually in these cities, the minor league team name has to do with whatever
Is going on.
the big industry is in the town.
Right.
And, of course, theirs was the nuclear reactor. So we called them the Isotopes because it was the goofiest sounding name we could think of.
And it stuck.
And it stuck. And in Albuquerque, they actually adopted that name. And I was getting calls from radio stations and TV stations saying, how do we come up with it? And I said, you're not going to like our answer. Our answer is we thought it was a joke.
But that's how all these good things stick, right?
I know. It's great. I got to throw out the first ball at an Albuquerque Isotopes game. Yeah, that was very fun.
How'd you do?
I actually did very well.
Because I know as a kid you grew up listening to Vin Scully,
Right.
And while most kids really want to play ball, you wanted to be an announcer like Vin Scully.
Yeah,
and that's
I
pretty
mean,
amazing.
all kids want to actually be players, but for most of us, there comes that day when we realize we're just not good enough to be professional athletes. And for me, I was 8 when I figured that out. But when I heard Vin Scully, I thought, wow, wait a minute, you can be an announcer and you can still travel with the team and you can go to exotic places like Cincinnati and Pittsburgh. This sounded like a dream job to me.
He is incredible. We have a picture up of you with Vin. We also met Vin, and he always makes you feel like you're so important in the room, and he really means it. He will take time out from his work to talk to you, and I was so sad when he left just, a month ago, was it?
Oh my God! I'm in mourning. I mean,
Yeah.
Vin Scully has been there my entire life, and you're right. Every time I went into the press box at Dodger Stadium, and I hosted Dodger Talk for 8 years, and I would bump into Vin Scully, and he would go,
Hey, Ken.
Hi, Kenny," and it was like, "Oh my God, the prettiest
knows
girl in school knows my name."
That's right. He was very pretty, wasn't he? So- no, you're right. We took my son there. My youngest son, James, plays baseball. He loves baseball, and he really is a terrific player. And we took him for his birthday, and Vin and John sort of know each other a little bit, so they were nice enough to set that up. And again, he took the time, and anytime you walk back in there, he remembers. He's got a great memory. That his last day was heartbreaking, but it was beautiful when he sang that song or he had it recorded.
Right. He's a good
Amazing.
singer.
He's a good singer. I wonder how many takes he did.
He could do Vegas. He could open for Hillary and Trump.
Who knows what he's going to be doing? But okay, so you grew up wanting to be an announcer. You became an announcer. Now, what came first? Because I need to know your timeline. You were doing play-by-play, or what?
Actually, I went to college. I went to UCLA, and I got out and became a disc jockey. I was a top 40 disc jockey, working among stations like KFI. I was on KFI for a couple of years.
When were you on?
Early 80s.
Is that when they're-
I was doing weekends on KFI. We're still doing music.
Yeah, I was going to
back
say, is
then.
that when they were doing music?
Yeah.
And I know you always wanted to be a disc jockey. As a little kid, your hero was Dan Ingram. Is
Yep,
that correct?
yep.
And your email is Boss Jock.
Yeah.
I even said to John, I said, why is it Boss Jock? He goes, well, you need to read his book, first of all. The name of your book is?
The Me Generation by Me, growing up in the 60s. And it's a humorous memoir of growing up in the San Fernando Valley in L.A. during the 60s. And this was Los Angeles, the place to be back then. There was the whole California myth and the Beach Boys and surfing, and then the Sunset Strip and the hippie revolution
been a
and
lot of
all like
fun.
that. It was a great
Where did
time
you
to
grow
grow
up
up
in the
here.
valley exactly?
In Woodland Hills.
So you were in Woodland Hills.
Yeah.
So you probably did have a little bit of property, in the house. I'm just trying to visualize. What did you do? Did you run around on your bike? It was just
Yeah,
free time.
yeah. No, I ran
listening?
around on my bike and listened to Boss Radio, KHJ,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a great time to be a kid growing up in L.A. If you had a car, if you didn't have transportation, you don't go to the beach. You don't go anywhere.
You were screwed.
yeah,
essentially.
So once I got a car, things were great.
Okay, so you were this little kid riding your bike around, listening to the radio, wanting to be an announcer.
Right.
You go to UCLA. What's the first thing you did out of UCLA?
I was a disc jockey in Bakersfield and San Bernardino, Detroit, San Francisco, here in Los Angeles. And I got tired of being fired because
Happens to
you know
everybody.
what radio is like.
Happens to everybody. yeah.
And and I didn't have the classic disc jockey voice, so I would
You're doing a good job now.
Well, I would get fired, and I was kind of Howard Stern before Howard Stern. I was a wise ass, and I met my partner David Isaacs. We were both in the same Army Reserve unit, and
You were in the Army Reserve too?
yeah. Well,
gosh.
my draft number was 4, so I had to get in.
You had to do
I
that.
had to get into the
Scary
Army
time, I
somewhere.
could imagine.
Exactly. So David and I decided we both wanted to try writing, and so we wrote scripts together and eventually sold them. And then I became a TV writer. And the fact that David and I both met in the Army and had certainly a wealth of knowledge of that world, it really allowed us to write MASH because we understood the Army mentality. Yeah.
How many episodes of MASH did you write? I mean, that's just like Hollywood royalty. that
We
you're doing.
wrote 19 episodes of MASH, and we were involved in rewriting another 60.
60
Yeah.
or 16?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you have a couple of favorite episodes you could share with us? I mean, the acting, I mean, just everything about that show, the actors. But give me one or two.
Well, my favorite episode that David and I wrote is called Point of View, and it was the episode that was seen through the eyes of a patient, where you, the patient/viewer, get hit on the line, and then you are transported by helicopter to the MASH unit, and it's a different way of looking at the camp. So that was my favorite episode that we wrote.
That sounds like it was more intense as opposed to less comedy, correct?
Yeah, although there was comedy in it, certainly.
Right.
And then my favorite all-time episode is called The More I See You, and it was from the 4th season, and Larry Gelbart wrote it, and it was really kind of a Casablanca story where Hawkeye's old girlfriend, played by Blythe Danner, came to the camp.
And that's for people who don't know. That's oh my gosh,
Gwyneth Paltrow.
mother.
Yeah.
It's her
Yeah.
mother. Okay,
Yeah.
she's a terrific actress.
Yeah,
but
taught her
people
all
might-
about colonics. Yeah. Yeah.
People might not know. You never know. It's a whole new generation of people who might not know who she is. So go ahead.
Right. So those are my 2 favorites for MASH.
What was her name? Because I didn't really watch that. It was a little like I was a little young for that. What was Hot Lips? Was her name Hot Lips Houlihan? Right?
Yeah.
What was she like? I mean, she was what a great character, and the way
She was really fun. Loretta Swit, she was a great sport. And especially in the early years when they were doing things with Hot Lips and Frank Burns, she was a great sport. She's a really good comedian.
the entire cast. They were terrific.
Oh, absolutely.
So then after that, you went on to
Cheers.
Okay.
Yeah,
and-
we did Cheers for 9 years and produced and consulted. And together, David and I wrote 40 episodes of Cheers.
Now I have to ask, do you get residuals for all
Yeah.
this? Oh, so you're
Yeah.
flying all right then. You're
man.
doing okay.
Wait. I just got a $3.42 residual from MASH
Let me tell
yesterday.
you. Let me tell you. I'm a pretty well-known actress. I'm not sure you know this. I was in the Nightmare on Elm Street, the last movie. Yes, I was. And
Were you killed?
You have to watch, and I'll let you know
Okay.
what I open in the movie.
All right.
And
I wondered why you were bloody sitting there.
I am still getting my residual checks, $1.29. I think I got one for 39 cents.
I got
I
a
mean,
check
we're
for
talking big
1
money.
cent.
This is ridiculous.
from The Simpsons. This was for my voiceover because I was the announcer. I was the Isotopes local minor league announcer. And I literally got a check for 1 cent.
I would think with those shows, because they're always being run on TV on some channel somewhere. I mean, Nightmare on Elm Street isn't exactly being played weekly,
Right.
I would think you get a little better residual than a couple of bucks, no?
Well, they do add up. And especially early on when they were in syndication, yeah, it was very nice. I put a couple of kids through college.
How many kids do you have?
I have 2.
How old are they now? And are they in the business?
My son, Matt, is a manager of a division at Apple Computer. I don't worry about him. And my daughter, Annie, is a successful comedy writer.
Oh, terrific.
Yeah.
And does she write for anyone in particular?
She
or-
was writing for Good Luck Charlie, the Disney show, and she was writing for 3 years on a Nick at Night show called Instant Mom with Tia Mowry. Mm-hmm. And she's got like pilots in development. You know, we're writers these days. Have pilots.
Well, you have to
Pilots.
sort of toss it up there, and whatever
Yeah.
sticks to the ceiling,
Sure.
you get lucky, or I was actually speaking to my friend on the way here, and she was asking me about podcasting and how do you make money with this, and I was saying, the new way that people are doing things now, they're developing their own stuff and they're putting it on YouTube and hope that it gets picked up. It used to be that you would have to sit around and kind of sit on your hands and hope that somebody would pick you up, but now there's so many other ways of getting seen and then getting picked up and getting sponsorship, right? And plus there's all these other channels out there. You've got Amazon and Hulu and, so do you feel like there's more work out there?
Well, there's more work out there, but they pay less.
Very true.
So, back in my day, I sound like a dinosaur.
Kind of.
But back in my day, in the 70s, when my partner and I started out, there were 3 networks.
Yeah.
And you either broke in or you didn't work.
Yeah.
And so there was like no minor leagues or anything. You either got signed by the Yankees or you played baseball in Peru. But nowadays, there are all these different networks and all
Different
of these
avenues
different
and-
avenues and portals and things, but they don't spend a lot of money. It's really hard to make a living writing a couple of webisodes, that sort of thing.
Well, what happens is also those people who are the writers end up also being the business people. They have to then go out and get their own sponsors. And frankly, you're either a writer and a creative, or you're one of those people who goes out and, does the advertising. And to do both is very difficult.
Yeah,
So
it
it's
really is.
tough.
I
Yeah.
mean, I've written a couple of spec screenplays that would be small independent movies. And it's really hard for me to go out and raise money. I mean, to
somebody
be on
like
my
you-
knees to German dentists to get money, I'm
gonna
just
happen.
I'm just not very good at that.
No, not with German dentists.
No,
Anyway, no, that's
no.
not going to work. All right, so after Cheers, you went on and you did Frasier. And,
After
or was this
Cheers,
simultaneous?
I did Frasier. My partner and I also created a series for Mary Tyler Moore in the mid '80s, and
What was the name of that?
Mary.
Oh, you did Mary. Come on.
Yeah.
You gotta
Mary.
call it. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody knows Mary.
Mary, yeah. James Ferrantino, we discovered Katie Seagal. It was Katie Seagal's first job on that show, yeah. We had
Oh.
John Aston, yeah. But, I kind of had a midlife crisis, Deborah. At that point, I said, if I don't pursue baseball announcing now, I never will.
You must go to your love. You have to. Before you're dead, people have to go back to their first love, and that was baseball
Right.
for you.
So for 2 years, I went to the upper deck of Dodger Stadium with a tape recorder and sat in the general admission section with all of the drunks and the guys with the pinwheel hats. And I would just
Felt like a
broadcast games night after night after night until I got good enough where I felt I could send out a tape and actually try to get a job, and got a job in Syracuse, which is the Toronto Blue Jays AAA farm club in 1988.
And you had to convince your wife to go there.
Yeah, I said, wouldn't it be fun to spend a bucolic summer somewhere?
In Syracuse?
I gave her a list of all of the minor league cities, which is about 120, and I said, you check off places that you would want to spend the summer, and those are the only places that I will send tapes to. And she checked off Syracuse. Now, she thought that Syracuse was going to be like Tanglewood. She thought it was going to be like the Berkshires.
Nope.
And then when we arrived,
I'm from back east. I know Syracuse.
salt mines.
Yep. Yep. She was probably
it's a pit.
yeah, but you've got to hand it to her. To leave her life in L.A. and go to Syracuse? You had kids by then, too, right?
We had, the kids were little. We rented a place for the summer. And my wife, at the end of that summer, said, look, if I ever catch you with another woman, perhaps we can go to therapy. Perhaps we can work it out. If you want to come back to Syracuse next year,
I'm outta here.
I'm getting a divorce.
Yep.
Yeah.
But then didn't you go down to Virginia?
Yeah, I
after
went
that?
to Tidewater, Virginia, which is Virginia Beach, and that I was able to sell as San Diego with humidity. And that was better because we lived at the beach, and it was a beach community, and that was fun. And she's a big Mets fan. And so, yeah, you're wearing a Met shirt.
Yep.
And
I couldn't find my
so-
Dodger shirt for you, so I put on a Met shirt.
So that was a help, and I did that for 2 years, and then there was an opening with the Baltimore Orioles, and I sent in my tape, and
So you went to beautiful Baltimore.
miraculously got a job in Baltimore, and then got hired away the next year by Seattle, which was on the left coast.
That's a lot of moving for your wife and the 2 kids, though. How did you pull that off?
Well, we would just rent a place for the summer.
It was just in the summer.
Yeah.
But they must have had a good time then, right? I mean, Dad's working in baseball.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, that must have been a lot of fun. Everybody would go to the games, and you were doing your dream.
That's right. Yeah, it was kind of a Walter Mitty type of thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so then how did you end up back here?
Ended up back here. I had a great job for 3 years with the Padres. The Padres needed somebody for the weekends because their lead announcer, Jerry Coleman, was doing national games of the week for CBS Radio, and they needed somebody for the weekend. So that was great. So I was able to really maintain my writing career, and every weekend I would either drive to San Diego or get on a plane and meet the team in exotic Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. And I thought, I want to keep this job forever. But after 3 years, CBS Radio lost the rights to ESPN, and Jerry was there full time.
And then bye-bye
So
Ken.
bye-bye me. Yep. And so then I came back to L.A., and I've hosted Dodger Talk, a couple of
KBC
stints
Radio.
on KBC, and originally when they were on Extra, 1150. And it was really fun. A few years
We have
ago.
a shot of you there. I told you last night I was going to take a bunch of your pictures off your Facebook. Now,
Go ahead.
Nobody go like looking at his Facebook. It's probably private anyway. But I pulled a bunch of pictures and sent them to my board guy here. So thank you.
But a few years ago, I got a chance to fill in and do play-by-play on a Dodger spring training game. And it was a game that was also on television, which meant Vin Scully did the first 3 innings simulcast, then he did the remaining 6 on television, and I did the remaining 6 on radio. And so for one shining day, I can say that Dodger baseball was broadcast by Vin Scully and me.
And Ken Levine.
And I still have the tape of him throwing it to me, and now for more play-by-play, here's Ken Levine.
Did you dream about
this
that
is
at
like
night?
unbelievable
I made
to
it.
me. Yeah, absolutely. I've crossed the River Jordan.
Yep, I've crossed it. I can die now.
Exactly.
I'm happy. So, did this inspire your play? Because the play, Are you okay there? Going, Gone is about 4 journalists. They're all very different, and they're in the press box.
Yes.
I loved this play. Loved
Thank
it
you so much.
because I related to it. The female in there reminded me of half the stuff that I used to go through, and I loved it. There's nothing more fun than a bunch of guys kind of jabbing at you, and I was so able to take it. I don't think I was very sensitive back then. I'm probably more sensitive now, and if I went in there, I'd go, no, don't say that. But back then, I would just give it right back. It's the most fun thing. It's like you have a pile of brothers in there. You have the fat guy, you have the guy, just everybody in there mocking everybody else.
Well, when I was doing Dodger Talk, that was before and after the games. And during the games, I would be sitting in the press box with these journalists, and oftentimes listening to these guys.
Banter.
They were way more entertaining than the game on the field.
Hilarious.
And I kind of liken it to a cross between a Rand Institute think tank and a bunch of idiots that you meet at the bar.
It's true, but especially that moment in time when it wasn't necessarily as PC, right? I mean,
Right.
you could sort of mock the girl, and she's mocking the one that, that's eating too much, and then the nerd. I thought of you. Who do you identify with most? I call him the nerd. But the nerdier guy?
No, I identify with the girl.
You identify? No, wait a minute. She's mine. You can't have her.
There's
But-
actually part of me in
all of them.
In all of them.
the skirt?
Interestingly, usually when I write a play,
Yeah.
I will think of an idea, think of a plot, or think of a relationship, and go from there, and a theme will emerge. But in this case, I had the theme first. Maybe it's because I'm going through my mid-ARP crisis, but I wanted to do a play about our need to be remembered. And I thought, well, what's a good venue for that? And baseball is perfect because the game of baseball is passed on from generation to generation. Every statistic is charted, and it's a sport where its history is actually more important than its present. So I thought that's the perfect venue to explore the notion of why we are remembered for what, how important is it, how important is chasing our legacy versus living in the moment. So there was a lot of meaty stuff that I could build on.
And these 4 characters were so richly developed. I liked each and every one of them from the very beginning. They were funny. And you're right. We all know somebody like each and every one of them in that room, right? We really do.
Yeah. They're very relatable. They're working class guys.
Yeah.
They love what they do to a varying degree. But the real world gets in the way. You know, it's a baseball play, but you don't really have to like baseball because it's also about romance and real estate and territorial rights and politics between men and women. And there's a lot of jokes.
A lot of jokes.
A lot of jokes.
And I won't give too much away because there's one character where, something sort of happens, which means you really need to go and see this because I was sad.
I wish I were you and didn't know what happens. Yeah. Yeah.
You mean me or
Yeah.
the people out there?
People out there.
Yeah, but I'm actually going to go see it again because I loved these characters very much. I mean, obviously, as a journalist, I really related to it so much, and I know each and every one of those people. But the direction on this was really terrific too. The sets didn't change, and not once was it even remotely boring. I didn't want it to end. And who directed this?
Andrew Barnacle.
He was terrific.
He was terrific. He directed my other play. I had a play about a year ago at the Falcon Theater called A or B, which was a 2-character romantic comedy. And Andrew did such a great job. Look, I'm a television director. I've directed over 60 episodes of TV, and I've directed one-act plays and things like that. And initially, I thought, well, maybe I'll direct this. But my first call was to Andrew to see if he would do it.
Because you knew his work.
Because I knew he'd be better than me. Yeah. And it was great. He's a terrific director. And like you say, it's one set, and for much of the play, people are sitting, and yet he got movement and variety, and there's so much involved in the rhythm of this play. And he was just like a musical conductor.
You know what I thought was sort of funny? A lot of these guys had their, which happens, we both know this, had their story written before the game was even finished.
That's true.
And people in the audience, I heard them behind me, they said, oh, do they really do that? And I'm thinking, yeah, they do.
Yeah, they really
because
do.
They just want it out of the way. They want to file it and get it out of there, and they'll just plug in the numbers.
Well, the problem is that after the game, all of the reporters go down to the locker rooms and get quotes from the various players. So they come up to write their story like an hour after the game is over, and they all have deadlines.
That's right.
So
and they want to be the first one in.
Yeah, so they only have 20 minutes to finish this story, and they can't start it at that point. So a lot of times they will have separate endings. They will write 2-3 endings.
Yeah, and they just leave holes. Look, I've done that too. You just leave a couple of holes. Something extraordinary happens, there's your open.
Right.
And then you just fill it with the rest from the middle because that doesn't change, right? And then, you come up with whatever ending is appropriate.
And they so hate it when something happens that's really unexpected that requires them to start their story again. Yeah, they hate that.
But everything was in there from, affirmative action jokes to the chubby guy jokes to the guy who has, a crush on the female reporter joke and is miserable at home. I just thought, we all know those people. We all are those people, which is what was so terrific. But even the little nuances on that set, again, having been in the press box, was very interesting. And I just think there's a lot.
You mean the guy with Xanax?
Oh, he was hilarious. Yeah, he was just. Although doesn't
you find that in any press box in America.
Doesn't that put you to sleep though? I'm thinking, wait a minute, how can he work and pop that pill? I don't know. I've never taken it actually. People have told me.
Here, let me give you one.
No, people tell me I need to take it actually, and I'm like, no, because I feel like it would put me to sleep. That was actually very funny. He kept popping a pill whenever his wife would call.
Yeah.
And she was.
Again, people can relate to that.
Do you know how many times I call John off when he's like in a commercial break and I'm calling, barking out some kind of order like this happened and this happened and this one won't listen. He goes, what do you want me to do? I have to go back on the air in 30 seconds. We all do that too.
You know, my wife, when I was hosting Dodger Talk and taking calls from listeners, she would text me.
Oh,
She would say, "You're being an a-hole."
Oh,
Yeah.
you have no idea. See, Adela, other people do it too. Adela's my friend, and she's been in the house for a long time in our lives.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah,
Oh,
stop being a jerk.
you're
Yeah.
such an asshole. I've
Yeah.
done that so many times. I'll text John, like, you better call me at the next break. And he's like, hello? And I'm like, this happened and this happened. And the kids aren't listening. He goes, what am I going to do? Because and then, he'll hang up because he's got to go on. So you have a wife like that too. huh?
Yeah. Yeah, it keeps me in line.
It does. I say it keeps you guys in line. If we didn't do that, what would happen?
God knows.
But then I have the other side. I have the side where I'm that reporter that was in your play, and I so related to her.
It's tough for them. It really is.
It is, but you have to have the right attitude. I am telling you, these guys were my brothers. The cameramen, the nasty reporters.
Once you won their respect.
Once you earn that, when they know you can take it.
Right.
2 more minutes. When they know you can take it, they
Right.
dish it, and you dish it out even harder, and it's like, oh, she can handle this. I mean, I loved going to work for that reason alone, because it was like a big joke fest. I don't know if it would be like that today. I haven't,
No, it is like that today. It is locker room talk, but nobody says the kind of things that Donald Trump said on that bus.
11 years ago, I have to say, I can't even believe that we're talking about what he said. It was disgusting. I have heard worse, I will tell you. From a presidential candidate, it doesn't belong. We should discuss another time about the whole thing with Billy Bush. I don't know why he was let go from that, but that's another
Well, he'll
issue.
work when Trump gets his TV network.
I guess so.
Yeah.
But I love how Melania, in an interview with Anderson Cooper on CNN, she blamed Billy Bush for egging him on. I'm like,
It's always somebody else's fault.
but that was
it's always somebody else's
That was
fault.
terrible, and I'll tell you why. Because is he going to be the kind of president where somebody does something and, and blows something up? It's somebody else's fault. It's like, I didn't like that. I thought that was really cheap and just a cheap shot. But we're getting off topic.
So
on that.
should we tell people how they can go see the play?
Please go ahead.
Okay. You just go to plays411.com/gone. And you can get tickets, and there are discount tickets for certain nights.
Okay, and if you forget that, just look up the Hudson Theater, because that's what I did.
That's right.
The Hudson Theater, going,
Gone.
gone. How do you forget that? Going, gone. There it goes. But very quickly, your blog. Tell us about that. Aren't you like the top 25 blogs in the world? How do you even get...
Time Magazine said that, and that was like really cool. And then I feel bad that I subscribe to Newsweek, but
You better change over.
I have.
They didn't call my blog the top 25 in the world, so
I have.
I'm waiting.
But I've had this blog for 11 years.
Yeah.
It's called By Ken Levine, B-Y Ken Levine. You can just go to Google Ken Levine blog, and it'll take you right to it. And it's about the entertainment industry and my sagacious opinions on just about everything. And like I said, I've done this for 11 years now, and I write something new every day.
That's amazing that you do it every day,
It's
no matter
kind
what.
of stretching exercises as a writer.
Very therapeutic.
Yeah.
Therapeutic.
Yeah.
Are you talking a lot about politics?
No, I don't, actually.
Really?
Yeah, I don't.
Oh.
I go on shows like this.
Okay, and then you
I write
And then
things
you-
for the Huffington Post.
I
yeah.
know, you're right. And among others, I mean, can you just sort of rattle off a couple of things that you've done? And it's also very impressive.
Well, I've done stuff for the Huffington Post, for
I'll tell you.
I
L.A.
have-
Times, the London Times, the Toronto Star, the Hollywood Reporter, Variety, and ESPN.com. See, I know your career
That's right.
better than you do.
and National Enquirer, I'm going to have to send in some stuff
Yeah,
here
let me have this.
because I'm really impressed with Hillary
mean,
Clinton having an affair with an alien from outer space.
And I have to tell you, your career will not be finished until you're on there. Ken Levine, thanks so much for
Thank
being
you,
here.
Deborah.
I hope you had some fun.
I had a great time.
Dragged you all the way down here, so I hope it was at least a little fun for
I
you.
had a great time. And now I can go to Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles. So
Okay.
it's
Thank
worth
you.
the trip.
And thanks, everybody, for tuning in another fun edition of Kobylt and Friends. See you next week.